Hey, what is going on, everybody? I am here. Just get ready to share with y'all some of my thoughts, man. If I seem to be going nowhere with this, man, just please understand, man. But today, I was just really thinking, man. I had to come out and take a walk to get my mind right and figure out what's going on with my life right now, or just kind of put my thoughts in order so I can, get myself together. But right now, I'm in the middle of a season change. As you can see, all of these trees has lost all of their foliage. All of their foliage, except what the book of Enoch say, except 14 trees that do not lose its foliage. Those are the evergreen trees, right? But all of these trees lost their foliage. All the leaves fell to the ground. If I wasn't the smartest person in the world, like which I'm not, I would probably think all these trees are dead. Sometimes I sit around and ask myself, like, how come I always go through a similar trial once a year around the same time of year, and it's always when it start getting cold outside. And then I had to sit back and think, like, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. This couldn't possibly be a trial. Sometimes we call stuff the wrong thing and we deal with it the wrong way, right? Like somebody might say, well, you just going through a lot of spiritual warfare right now. I'm like, that couldn't be it. I mean, like, maybe that is true, but this is the same way every year around the same time of year. Sometimes it's during certain years, it might be a little worse than others. Sometimes it might happen in a slightly different way, but I always end up in a very financially unprofitable season as soon as it start getting cold outside. And then it's like it start getting a little bit better toward January and things like that. I mean, like right in December is when I got a lot of other stuff going on and stuff like that. So it ain't like I just be stuck at home broke for 3 months. Like that's not it. Last year is when I started my wood shop, and I was selling some of my little, like my little creative ideas. Let's let this ambulance go by. So I always got a few ways to make money and stuff like that, though. But this year, man, it happened so strangely. Just so strangely. But God knew exactly what he was doing. I spent some time in prayer this morning. We really had to figure out what was going on. And he said that everybody need a pruning season. Everybody need a season of cutoff. And the only reason that happened, two reasons why one could go through a pruning season. Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
A, it could be due to not growing fruit. B, it could be due to growing fruit. So either way, everybody need a pruning season. But what he said is, look, I saw you growing fruit. And specifically because we are in the end of days, the work need to be done. Like, we don't got 30 years to slow roll this. Like, it need to just get done. But I saw you growing fruit, and in order for me to significantly prosper you next season, you needed to go through a pruning season. Because when you busy every day, driving around, getting your work done, those are usually the times when you are less likely to focus specifically on salvation. Those are times when you are usually less likely to specifically focus on growing spiritually. Not that it can't happen, but it's tend to be like slowed down a little bit because your mind and your heart and your energy and your time is going toward other things, right? Everybody need bills paid. Everybody gotta eat. All of that stuff is gonna happen. But sometimes your time need to go toward eternity and not temporal life most of the time. And sometimes we need them cutoff seasons just to get started off right. But right, because sometimes we could spend too much time doing one thing to where we just start getting a little off balance, right? Well, your scripture reading used to be multiple times a day. Now it's once every couple days. Sometimes we don't even get in our prayer closet that often because we always got something to do. And what we tend to do is we tend to treat the time we spend just taking care of business as doing what God wants us to do. And that could be true, but it's a whole lot more to the story than that. One of the ways people justify neglecting their spiritual life is making the things they replace working on their spiritual life with as the will of God. So that way they don't have to have their conscience offend them about what they not doing, right? Yeah, kids gonna need stuff. Yeah, you need to put gas in the car. Yeah, you need to provide all of those other things, but it's so much more to providing than just stuff and material benefits. Because if you're not providing your family a man of God that grows spiritually, then they essentially losing more than what they think they are. Your wife can have all the dinner dates in the world. Your kids can have all the latest video games and all the shoes they need, but if you're not providing them a man who's got a closer relationship with God than what he had last year, then they are essentially losing more than they think they are. It's just that because spiritual warfare haven't hit the house yet, did that make us believe that it's really not that big a deal, but that it just don't take all that. But it's always going to be a point in time when the wind will blow on everybody's household, and it's going to test where everybody stand with Christ. If your foundation is not on the rock, I feel sorry for you. If you are not on stable ground and that wind come and blow to your house, it don't matter how many bills get paid. It don't matter how many cars y'all got. It don't matter how happy the kids is. If you're not planted on stable ground, when that wind blow, but the problems that get caused will make everything you did do look like it was all for nothing. Trust me, I've been there before. I remember seasons when no bill was late. I remember seasons when nobody needed for nothing. The fridge was overfull. But our time wasn't going towards growing spiritually, especially mine as a man. Because it was always ate up with focusing on just temporal life, on just going out on dates, on just coming home and sitting there as a family watching movies, on just going out and doing little summer activities. And then as soon as the wind blow, everything fall apart. All it's gonna take is for one little piece to be slid out. You ever played what's that game? Jenga. I think that's the name of that game, or Lincoln Logs or something like that. You slide the little piece out and the whole thing come tumbling down. Sometimes that's all it takes. It don't matter how tall that tower is. If it's not planted on stable ground, all it's going to take is for the wind to blow and knock it all to the ground. And then you find yourself piecing it all back together and wondering what happened. And so sometimes, like, we got to have seasons like that. And everybody else's seasons in life are different than others. But unfortunately, everybody got to have one. All of these trees lost their foliage. But they lost all the green. All the green. Don't ever think that just because God is not prospering you in one way, but that you're not prospering in other ways. Right? So in this season, man, I lost my car due to a drunk driver. Can't get up and go to work every day. Stuck at home most of the time. Now I'm the one cooking dinners. Now I'm the one cleaning. And my wife the one going to work every day paying bills. Like, and it makes me feel sad because I'm saying to myself, I wish me and you can trade places. But it's something else to this. But now, a lot of people might sit around and say, well, you ain't a man then. It's something else to this because we bought a house like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But the house was fully capable of being lived in, except it's like still a fix-up house. Every season of my life when I do nothing but work and pay lights, gas, water, and this and that, none of that work in that house get done. As you can see, it's been 5 years and we still working on stuff in the house. Still. But all that time I spent back and forth going to work, doing move-out cleaning and stuff like that, I've been taking home like supplies that was just going to get throughout in a bulk pickup anyway. Drywall compound, wall texture, gallons of paint, stir sticks, gallons of wood stain, boxes of nails, putty knives, just stuff that get left there from the last people that lived there that was getting ready to get throughout. I'm talking about the whole 9 yards, man. Light switch covers, transition strips, them little vinyl covers that go inside at the bottom of the cabinets, sandpaper. Ooh, there's a deer. I thought that was that man's dog. Man, what else is it? Drill bits, screwdrivers, but just all little by little, just bringing all that stuff home bit by bit. Man, I wanted to get a picture of that deer. I'm out here getting some pictures today, just trying to get my head together before I go back home and start working on that kitchen. Just all sorts of stuff, man. Power tools, blades. But like, you get what I'm saying, right? All that time I just been bringing all that stuff home. Concrete, like bags of cement, things like that, bags of grout. I don't know what I need grout for. It's not like I'm about to be doing some tile. Maybe I am, because that's what she really wants in the bathroom and kitchen. And now that I'm sitting here off work, I actually got the time to do all that stuff. But if I'm working every day, paying this and paying that, that stuff never get touched. And I got to hear her every day walk in the house. Oh, my house is so ugly. And I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. I just got done paying property taxes. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, either way, a man's work is never done. It's always something else he still ain't done. And during certain seasons of my life is when I do more of one thing than the other. More of one than the other. I even got uh uh I got dry lock for the basement, pipe wrenches, floor paint for the basement, just all kind of stuff. Just doing little odd jobs and don't use all the supplies. And just bring that stuff home. I got gallons of floor paint for the basement, gallons of dry lock for the basement, just all kind of stuff. So it's like I would much rather spend my time like that right now than to still find myself working every day just for us to still like still got to come home to a house that need a ton of work done. And I'm talking about a lot of money's worth of work. Like just the kitchen right now, I mean that kitchen need at least $10,000 worth of work that I'm doing myself. When we first moved in the place, and it was all that stuff there from the last people that lived there. It was old people that lived in that house, and they had a lot of antique furniture, just wood dressers, shelves, cabinets, and all these other things that were just in the basement rotting. All of that clean out and mold remediation and gutting out old this and cutting deep freezers in half so that I can lift it up and take it outside to the curb by myself. And yes, I had to cut deep freezers in half. It was like 3 of them down there, all just full of nothing but rotted water and just it was disgusting. My neighbor took most of it for scrap. I should have done that myself. Got me a little something out of the deal. Man, like that, if somebody was to hire me to do that job, that would have been $10,000 worth of work right there. And guess how much the house costed? $10,000. I've essentially done more money's worth of work in that place than what the house even costed in the first place. In fact, I've essentially done more money's worth of work in that place than what it'll cost paying every bill all year long. And that's just since I've been off work. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a man's time need to go to something, right? And I purposely believe that God had it be that way. He's like, look, man, for as long as you got a way to get to work every day, for as long as you got work to do every day, this is always gonna sit here. This is always gonna sit here. Yes, the girl is always gonna wish this or wish that. Like, what do you rather her wish? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you hear her complain every day, my kitchen is so ugly. Oh, yada, yada, yada. It's like, well, you know how to do all this stuff. You just don't never got time to do it because you always trying to put out financial fires. Always. If your time ain't being spent on lights, gas, water, and groceries, then like it could get spent on making sure y'all got a decent kitchen to put groceries in. I got to take all them cabinets down, sand them all down, stain them all over again. I'm getting ready to clean all the dirt and all the like green tarnish off of all the kitchen cabinet knobs and shine them all back to brass again, like good looking brass. The kitchen counters, I gotta pull all that laminate cover top off the top and just do an epoxy on top of it so that way it can look more like a modern kitchen. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff she would never do herself. And so sometimes like our seasons in life change for a reason. Just because it seemed like God took one thing away does not mean that he took something away. Sometimes like you don't even realize you don't really lose anything. And this ain't my first time coming here. Like, why do you think I'm even talking about this? I ain't talking about this because I'm just making some kind of speculation. And like, I ain't just talking about like stuff I assume. I'm talking about stuff I know. I go through this. I've only been, well, I've been saved almost 8 years now. From 2017, September 2017 to, well, yeah, so it's been a little over 7 years. I seen it work out like this every year since I've been saved. Now, but before that, I've never gone through similar things, right? Never have. But sometime, man, like, you just got to be able to endure the season changes. It doesn't mean God is punishing you. It doesn't mean God is chastising you. Just because stuff happened in your life that hurt is not always chastisement. Sometimes we can call it the wrong thing and it make us deal with stuff the wrong way. Sometimes, like, we always so quick to blame spiritual warfare and the devil, and we really don't know that this is God doing something in our life to make sure we can prosper significantly next season. Right now, I got all the time in the world to focus on my photography. And my wife always tell me, I wish you would focus more on your photography. But it's so hard for me to do that if all my time is being spent in on my cleaning services. She will always say to me, like, I wish you would stop a lot of that cleaning stuff and just focus more on your photography. You really take nice pictures. I literally hear her say that all the time. And you want to know what? It kind of bothered me because I remember at a point in time in my life, all I really wanted to be is a professional photographer. And it's like the moment I leave my job and start my cleaning business, it's like that got put on the back burner. And it's like every time I end up in this similar unprofitable season, this is all I have. And God, he really had to tell me, he's like, look, if this is all you do during an unprofitable season, then how come this can't be all you do, period? But now, bad enough you got your wife telling you, but this is what you need to do. Like, I believe you are much more valuable here than you are doing move out cleaning. I believe you much more valuable here than you are refinishing wood floors. I believe you much more valuable here than you are doing all that other stuff. Like, you really just need to focus on your art. And I'm like, you know what? Like, you really got a very valid point. But sometimes it seems like just because the money is easier to make there than here, it's not that the money is harder to make here. It's just that I get more jobs doing that. Sometimes it's really hard to let it go because I don't know when the time is going to come around when I would have wished I would have worked more. Like now. I don't know when the time is going to come around when I'm going to need to have some money put away, and I said no to all the jobs that could have paid me today. But like, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. I'm not a perfect Christian. I've been hard-headed a lot. I have. It's hard to take advice from somebody that don't know how it is to be hard-headed and obedient. It's hard to take advice from somebody that haven't seen both sides of the playing field. And I've been hard-headed a lot. Like, sometimes it just, I wish I would have took advantage of previous seasons when I had the same problem and just stayed going that same course. But it seemed like as soon as the season break, I'm just right back to the last stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? And at this point in time in my life, I ain't got the time to do that. I am much more clear now on what it is I know God wants. than I was before. Only problem about before is that I wasn't that clear. Sometimes I think just because it comes my way and is willing to pay me and it's something I know how to do, that's God providing. Sometimes that could just be the devil sending you off course and you really don't see it because it's solving a need right now. And it's not sinful, right? It's not like I'm going and robbing somebody. I'm honestly just doing an honest day's work. I made a video that I didn't put on YouTube yet. It's about the fact that skill sets are going to be far more valuable in these days and times than what people think they are. And in my lifetime I've developed a lot of skill sets, right? And that's not really the point of what I'm getting ready to say, but I really kind of want to lay a foundation as far as why somebody would hear me say about all the things I know how to do. It's like, dude, you know how to do everything, don't you? I wish, you know. But I remember when I first started my wood shop, I was really applying my artistic mind in that area of work, right? And so now I don't got nothing but time to just really start applying myself in that area. And I'm kind of torn. I don't know if I want that to be my studio or if I really want to just make that a wood shop. I mean, I could always bring the wood shop to the basement, or I could always bring the studio inside the house. Because after all, my wife, she want to take pictures too. She's been wanting a professional camera ever since she was a kid. She asked her dad to buy her one, and he come back with a little digital camera, and she got mad, but she still used it, and she been wanting one since then. I wish I was in a position to just give her my camera and just kind of upgrade to the camera I really need for the work that I do. Not that the camera I have don't work. It's just that this is a camera that she's seen crazy quality come off of, so she already knows it's a good camera. She already know how to work it. And so I'd rather just hand this down to her and just upgrade at some point in time. But I could always just bring the studio in the house and just leave that little space outside to just be my little area where I build props and things of that nature. But it's like now I got nothing but time to recalibrate. You always need time to recalibrate, man. Always do. And recalibration is the difference between longevity in whatever it is you're doing and just burning out. Sometimes we don't ever take time to just recalibrate. And it's not always something you can do on your own, but because you don't know you like God know you. God know what you need. And therefore, sometimes you really have to let God make those things happen in your life that give you space and opportunity to recalibrate, than to try and do all the stuff yourself and thinking you knowing what you're doing, and really you're just wasting your time. Right? I don't think ever in my right mind would I had just taken a month off work, like all for nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? And if I did, like it probably would have still been for nothing. It all got to happen in God's timing. Some people need to take breaks from their family members. Some people need to take breaks from certain types of entertainment. Some people need to take breaks away from shopping. Some of y'all shop too much, causing y'all to be absolutely materialistic. Everybody needs space and opportunity to just recalibrate. Some of y'all need time away from y'all husband or wife. I'm not lying to you. That's a real thing. Sometimes it's real hard to focus on God when all y'all got is each other talking y'all heads off sometime, because like you still got to have your own personal relationship with him. In a perfect world, do it together. But people always just need a moment or two to go in their own secret place. You know what I'm saying? Like you always do. And if you don't take a moment or two to go in your own secret place, stuff is going to happen in your life that's going to make you wish you woulda. Right? Because people can always let you down. People can always be an instrument that get used to test you. And before that happens, you want to make sure you're strong already. Man, I really wish I can take this tree home. I really do. I would take this right to my wood shop and start turning bowls out of it. Actually, I think I might take one of these logs home and put one of these joints on my lathe. God, that's a nice little wood cup right there. Look at this, right? Like really just sitting here just trying to piece stuff together. Like, man, like what can I do with any of this? I've actually made a few walking sticks out of pieces and parts like this before too, and I already had a couple people wanting to buy some. I just never get to focus on that stuff long term enough to really make a thing out of it. And a lot of that work really don't even got to leave the house for. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the biggest problems that we have at home is having two parents who can actually stay home long enough to really spend time raising kids, not just feeding them, but actually sitting there raising them. Because they got to go to school every day, hear all this propaganda in their ear, hear all these lies about God in the Bible, and then they got to come home and then hear you say something contradicting to what was taught to them at school. But that time you at home is very little in compare what the time you see them at home is very little in comparison to the time they listening to their teachers and their friends all day long. We don't live in the same kind of world we used to, y'all. Stuff is not traditional anymore. Like we don't have traditional problems anymore. Therefore, we cannot have traditional lifestyles anymore. Man, and I'm talking to myself. If you can take some time away from always being out in the field and working from home more and raising your kids up in the fear of the Lord, do it. Not all of us got the opportunity to, to have studios and shops inside of our house. But if you do got that opportunity, man, start a business from the house. Raise your kids up in the fear of the Lord. And that don't always mean forcing Bible down their throat. Sometimes just how you deal with situations that go on with them is as the same as you raising them up in the fear of the Lord. Just how I discipline my daughter is raising her up in the fear of the Lord. Like you gotta give kids opportunities to deal with them the way God deal with you, so that way when it's their time to choose salvation, they can already relate to God because they can see that he's the same way you were, right? Like God is not some dictator, somebody that's always yelling all day long. God is the kind of person who will say something very gently and still mean business. Man, I heard my wife say, You deal with your daughter too softly. I'm like, no, I don't. I said it softly, and I still meant business. I don't gotta yell. And she was like, man, sometimes I think my kid's scared of me. I'm like, well, that's good that they scared of you. Yeah, but you don't always gotta yell. You can say something once. You ain't gotta look mad or mean, and you can still mean business. You will be in bed at 9:30 tonight, even though you chose to want to sleep all day. Now it's time to go to bed so you can get up early for school, and you think you deserve to stay up because you slept already and sit on your iPad. No, you would not play on the iPad. You do have to lay down so that way you can go to bed to get up early enough for school. Kids sitting there pouting and shouting and, hey, not fair, yeah, ha. I don't say nothing else to her. No iPad, lay down and go to bed. I'm like, they ain't doing nothing to me, right? Like all that evil eye and all that stuff ain't bothering me. I'm not about to yell at you. No iPad, go to bed. I'm not about to sit here and holler and do all that other stuff. I bet you don't get this iPad though. like you know what I'm saying? Just little incidents like that is teaching kids how God is, because God is the same way with me. I can't remember the last time God just got up and yelled at me. The very first time I heard him say something. Even when it's his third time saying something, I still don't hear him in my heart yelling. Now, it's situations when you got to. It's situations when he's got to be absolutely stern. But the vast majority of the time, he's a still small voice. Still small voice. I can speak the whole world into existence, and I don't even got to yell. But back to the topic at hand. It is time out for us to be somewhere expecting to have some Wizard of Oz dreams to our life. Man, it is time to really focus 100% on getting right with God, getting more right with God. See, sometimes we think we are right with God just because we got saved, but you can always be more right. You could always do more. You could always give more of yourself over to the work of the Lord. Like, don't ever think that you just arrived and there's nothing else you got to do. It's always something else you can do. There is none righteous, no, not one. So with that being said, your work is never done. And even after you go to heaven, your work is never done. It's going to be a lot of work to do there. So I got to run to this bathroom. None of these water fountains work. I'm thirsty as heck. I'm going to drink from this faucet. Period, man. Well, it is what it is. That's one of them little sprinkling faucets that shoot the water out in like little sprinkles. I ain't about to mess around with that. I'm going to just walk home and just put up with being thirsty. I got my wife's gloves on right now. I was hoping to be home soon enough before she found out and went looking for them. Because I think we get ready to... I'm going to try and see if she want to go downtown today, go look at the Christmas lights. And she real big on Christmas decorations. I don't care nothing about all of it. But, like, you know what I'm saying, it's important to her to go down there and check it out. So I guess we just going to go down there and check it out. No big deal. And another thing I want to say is that you also need to take time to grieve grieve season changes. Like, how do you think these trees feel about the very first day they froze to death? Like, plants and stuff go through shock periods, and then they get used to it. Sometimes you just need to endure shock periods after everything hit you at once. After you realize your last assignment is over. And you want to know what be so hard about assignment changes in my life? It's because I expected more to come out of that previous assignment. I thought maybe God had something more for us there that I just never had a chance to get around to. Another thing that makes season changes hard in my life is because I believe that during times of assignment changes, sometimes like we can get too used to blaming the devil. Oh, the enemy just don't want to see me win. Oh, the enemy's attacking my finances. It's not always the enemy, man. I'm gonna just keep it real with y'all. It's not always the devil. It's not always a trial. I mean, it is a trial, but it's not some kind of tribulation type of trial. Sometimes it's just nothing more than a pruning season, a season change. So that way you can get your feet wet with other things that's going to be applied to the next season in your life. I spend more time in my wood shop. I could actually get the place refinished, the whole house refinished this winter. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I would like to do it. Man, like here comes springtime, and she gonna love to do a spring cleaning in that joint. Here comes springtime, and if everybody want their photo shoots done, I could actually bring people to the house to have like a backdrop set up. And she ain't got to worry, like, no, I don't want nobody looking at my house. It need too much work in here. Or something else, if you already got a business, like you could always take that time to learn new skills that can be incorporated with what you already do. So that way you got time to hone those skills and incorporate that new product or that new service into your current line of work. And so that way, as soon as the season break, man, like you making double what you did last year. I seen this stuff happen in my life already. But sometimes I get afraid of season changes and assignment changes because I remember how much hell I went through the first time I had a season change or an assignment change. How much struggling that took. Sometimes we can get afraid of just enduring that fire because we remember how hot it was the last time. The only thing about this though, is either way you will endure the fire. Either way you will be put in the fire if you are a child of God. But how you handle being in there is going to determine how you come out. Now, there's two things that stick out to me in the Bible about gold being put in the fire. The very first thing I can say is I remember when the children of Israel were in the wilderness and they were all wondering what happened to Moses and how come we ain't heard from God and all of this other stuff. And they thought they were forsaken. And Aaron, he demanded, give me the earrings out of your sons and daughters' ears and the nose rings and the golden vessels, and give me this and give me that. And I'll put this in the fire and I'll make your God. And then Moses wondered what happened, right? This stuck out to me. Moses asked Aaron what happened. He said, well, I put all the gold in the fire and it just came out as an idol. And just out comes this idol. Look, if you read that, you gonna ask yourself, so you mean to tell me, Aaron, you put that gold in the fire and it just accidentally became this golden calf? As if you really did not take the time to mold that. Like all the gold went in and it just popped out like that. That's what's recorded in the Bible. That is recorded forever in Scripture. And it's recorded like that forever in Scripture for a reason. You go through the fire and you just came out an idol. You just popped out like that. What do I mean by coming out as an idol? Getting bitter with God. Going through that trial, trying your best to be self-reliant. Saying to yourself, I can't trust God because God had me fail. I tried to trust God and look at what happened. I might as well do this the way I was going to do it the first time. I might as well just go back to what I used to. I thought I was listening to God about doing this or that with my life, and now look. Man, I might as well just do what I was doing at first. After all, they kept wanting to go back to Egypt. Man, we listening to that Moses and that God, and now look, our children are out here thirsty. I would have rather been a slave in Egypt than to die out here in this wilderness. At least I would have had a grave. But no, I'm going to be buzzard food out here. Right? Like that's how they were thinking. And it's not hard to think that. It's really not hard to feel that way. Even if you feel like that at first, straighten up. I'm not telling you to just, to go ahead and do what the flesh want and choose to feel like that. No, but I'm saying, if you catch yourself thinking like that, feeling like that, saying stuff like that, stop. Just stop. Just stop. Or you can come out the fire a vessel fit for the master to use. It's either an idol or a vessel. Pick one. And stuff like this don't always come by in your life because you did something wrong. You need to know that. You didn't do anything wrong. Not all the time. And I'm not saying that you just don't deserve what you're going through. After all, you came to Christ because you deserve to go to hell. But so don't have an attitude of deserve. I deserve nothing at all. Like the moment you start having an attitude about what you deserve, go ahead and pack your bags and move on down to hell, because that's the very first thing you do deserve. Born in sin, shaping in iniquity. So don't even have that attitude to begin with. Anything you go through is better than going to hell. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, and the Lord will deliver them from them all. You just need to know that. No, you ain't perfect. You probably do deserve what you're going through. But not all the time is what you're going through because of something you did. It might be meant for getting you to not be that way anymore. But not because it's just some punishment over something you did. It could be simply the process God have you in to grow you up spiritually, so that way you are not like that anymore. And then, like, you always gonna have a lot of people that's like Job's friends, right? Like, you remember Job's friends? The whole time Job suffered his trial, all his friends is like, well, perhaps you sinned against God, and that's why this is like that. Well, maybe you just didn't do this right. Maybe you just didn't do that right. Oh, this is God just taking everything from you because it's something you ain't do right. Oh, this is God getting you back for rubbing me the wrong way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you always gonna have them people. Always. Don't even let them people get to you. Those are messengers of Satan. And they don't always mean to be messengers of Satan. They honestly believe that they're telling you the truth. So just be patient with them. After all, Job did not divorce his wife after his wife told him to curse God and die. Man, look, if you would have been in Job's shoes, a lot of y'all would have actually listened to somebody like that and cursed God. Job had it hard. That seemed, look, I'm not going to lie to you. For what God had Job go through seemed really mean. That really did. Like, I know I love God and everything. I understand why Job went through what he went through. But man, his kids had to die. Like, oh, come on, man. And sometimes I might think about stuff a certain kind of way. Like, you know, like I just like to think, right? And I'm sitting here saying to myself, man, all his kids had to die, but because God and the devil was playing spiritual battles with each other. It's like, how come I gotta be put in the middle of this? Like, how come y'all two can't just take swords and duel? Like, how come I gotta be through in this? All my kids dead. I lost everything. It's like, oh man, but you want to know something though? You are his sword. You are his battle axe. He used you as a weapon against evil. You are the vessel he used to put up a spiritual warfare. So when you think about it like that, why wouldn't he use you? Why wouldn't he have you go through a season like that just to come out victorious and bring that win home for the Lord? Why wouldn't he? And I know sometimes, like, we can ask ourselves, could there have been another way to do this? Other than my whole family having to suffer because the devil, like, you know what I'm saying? Because the devil wanted to pick me out as an example for why everybody that say they love God really don't. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Spiritual stuff get dirty. It gets dirty, man. All you gotta do is read the book of Job. It gets dirty. It gets to the nitty gritty, man. Like, you just gotta understand stuff like that. And sometimes we might say, I did not sign up for all this being a Christian. Of course you did not sign up for all this. Of course you didn't. You didn't even know this was going to happen. How could you have signed up for it? You know what I'm saying? But instead, I'm going to tell y'all this. Some people that want to really give their life to Christ, you're going to have situations that make you want to say to yourself, I was not expecting to have to live like this, giving my life to the Lord. This is not what I signed up for when I said I want to walk with God. Of course it ain't. You didn't sign up for this because you didn't know this was involved. But what you need to know is you did sign up for everything this could involve. Like, don't think about what it is you did or didn't sign up for. Just sign up for everything this could involve. But for everything that could happen, I'll sign up for that. See, that's what got me my very first serious trial that I went through. I talked about this in another video. And I said that I was praying to God that he solved this one problem I had in my life, and instead he took everything away from me. And I went to sleep that night really bitter and mad at God, and I seen Jesus in a dream, right? So my very first time experiencing something like that, I really said to myself, I did not sign up for all of this. I did not know that my life was gonna potentially become a living hell as a result of being on my way to heaven. Everybody, all my life, all that church stuff, man, like you really need to get modern day church stuff out of your head. All of that stuff contaminate your walk with God. All of that stuff contaminate the knowledge of God. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. All the preachers you hear make it sound like all your problems will go away. Just give your life to Christ. Oh, no, they ain't. And see, because I had a lot of that stuff still contaminating me, I expected something different. And I didn't get what I expected. And I thought God hated me. I did. After all, I did not grow up with my father in my life as often as I wish it could have been. And so already I was still like I was still getting used to having a father. And fathers deal with children differently than mothers do. Fathers will let that child go through a hard time on purpose, watching it happen. All for a good reason. If I'm trying to teach my kid how to ride a bike, it's going to be a matter of time before I just got to let them fall off that bike. Or I got to let them be in a position where they could fall off that bike. See, not all mothers is willing to do that. Oh no, my baby scraped his knee. Me, scrape that knee. Get it over with. You need to know what it's like to fall off a bike. That way you know. You need to do all you can to make sure you can actually stay up in the air. All the little turns you make, be careful making turns. And because you don't know how to be careful making turns, you need to fall off this bike. Now you know to be careful making turns. I'm not going to always be there to hold you up every time you need to make a turn. You need to get this over with and learn how to ride this bike without me, walking behind you the whole time, trying to hold the seat up in the air. Fathers deal with kids differently than mothers do. And so I was still trying to get used to that. I was mostly raised by my mother. And I was thinking God is going to deal with me like my mother was. Nah. God is nobody's mother. It took a while to get used to that. But, he really had to put some hair on my chest, even though it went through like a bit of a toxic period between me and him. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he never left or forsake me, man. Never. Heck, that's one thing I need to learn as a husband. You know what I'm saying? Man, she might get a little crazy, but mean, hey, and just as much as I could have said I didn't sign up for all this, God could have looked at the way I was responding to the situation and said to himself, well, I ain't signing up for that either. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you always need to think about stuff like this. Always hold your head up high. Always. It's gonna be all right. And this ain't gonna be your last time going through this. After all, we live in the end of time. I believe this is the last 7 years. What make you think you just gonna be out here living like every day is Friday? Joel Osteen lied to you. Like, that's all that false church stuff I'm telling you about that's going to contaminate a real walk with God. It's not even worth going to churches that teach things about God that's only in relation to you having a good life here. Like, it's not even worth your time sitting up under that kind of doctrine, because when hard times come, which they will, that's going to contaminate the way you deal with stuff. Sit up under the truest doctrine you have. Sit up under the realest teaching you have, the stuff that's actually preparing you for what it's going to be like living in the end of days. And we already here. It's going to be a matter of time when you get kicked out of the economy for good, unless you take the mark of the beast. All of that, no, we just going to disappear in the rapture stuff, and we ain't going to see none of that. Oh, so you calling the Bible a liar? Because the Bible don't teach that. It just don't. You will go through the tribulation. Now, I ain't going to say you're going to go through the whole 7 years of it, because God, he don't appoint us to his wrath. And there's going to be a point in time during that tribulation period where the whole world is going to have to face the ultimate wrath of God. But you just going to have to suffer being an outcast in this world. And if you can't have these little hard times right now, without losing heart and losing faith in where you stand with God, then like, how will you stand then when it's heaven or hell? Like, you know what I'm saying? If you faint during the foot soldiers, where will you stand when the horsemen arrive? Sometimes we just need to know that. But other than that, y'all, that's all I really got to say. I'm sure somebody out there get it. I'm sure somebody out there understand. I'm sure somebody out there goes through exactly what I'm talking about right now. This is all a process, man. This is all strengthening you for next season and next season and next season. This is all preparing you to get out of here. But if you love this world, man, you would never go through stuff like this and keep your faith intact. You still love the world. You love what people think about you. You love what you can do in life. You love the things you can have in life. But you love everything more than God. Don't be that person. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. And anything you love more than God is going to be used as a way to push you out of the will of God. If you love money more than God, it's going to turn your heart against him. don't even love your wife or husband, mother, father, or your kids more than God. But because during the tribulation time, all your 3-year-old baby got to say is, Daddy, I'm hungry. Daddy, why won't you do something and feed me? And now you in line taking the mark, getting ready to go to hell over a bologna sandwich just so you can live here another 3 years before the whole world is burnt up. Anyway, it's not even worth turning against God because you ain't going to be here that much longer. Then you got to go to hell forever. Heck, man, like once you get kicked out the economy for good because you don't want to take the mark, just die. Everybody gonna suffer the wrath of God anyway, and they ain't even gonna be able to die. They ain't even gonna be able to escape it. They just gotta put up with 75-pound hailstones falling out the sky, squashing people like bowling balls, squashing ants. And many people will wish for death and won't be able to find it. And now you down there in line taking the mark, all because you love your kids more than God. And now y'all all got to suffer the wrath of God. Look, man. And that's only if kids are still going to be here. I truthfully believe that something is going to happen with the kids. I don't even think we're going to... I don't know. I can't really say. But maybe one of these days we can go over something like that. Let's just say it's your wife. You need to be a better husband. I don't know why you don't just take the mark. I'm starving. Oh, I married you to starve to death? You told my father you would take good care of me. And now look, he over there, he doing that for his wife. How come you won't do it for yours? Oh, well, you just really don't love me then. You lied and said you love me. Now here you are trying to prove how much you ain't lie. Prove how much you really do love her, just to prove her wrong. And now you're down there taking the mark of the beast, going to hell. Man, look, you got to endure seasons in your life that got you putting up with hearing other people's complaints, all because of what you can't do. And I got the same thing going on right now, just not from my wife. I got people complaining at me right now all over what I can't do. Only thing I can do is go rob somebody and figure it out. Heck, only thing I can do is let you just be mad. That's it. Like, you don't know what people's lives are going to look like during the tribulation. Everybody's cross is different. Everybody's cross is shaped different. Everybody need to pick up a cross and follow him. Just put up with hearing the mouth. But just put up with people thinking you an evil person. And ain't nothing you could do. Heck, you start moving and operating and trying to live up or down on what people think or say about you. You just made them an idol. You just made them an idol. They're serious. Operating accordingly to what people say about you. Man, forget that. Man, just plug in with God and do that. That's it. I think he's a false prophet because he don't teach the rapture like everybody else do. Well, I'm not about to change that. Like, I got this revelation from reading the Bible. What are you trying to tell me? The Bible's wrong? And like, you know what I mean? People call me a false prophet just because I believe we live in the end of days right now. Oh, well, the Bible says no man knows the the day or the hour. That's what it is. I'm like, yeah, nobody knows the day or the hour when Christ is going to arrive. I'm not talking about the day Jesus come back. I'm not talking about the day the world end. I'm talking about the season we live in right now. And now you want me to live up or down to your imagination of me and dumb down what I know just because you don't get it. I'm not going to do it. So many people think I'm a false prophet right now just because I read the book of Enoch. So many people think I'm a false prophet right now just because I read the book of Esdras. Just because I read the Apocrypha. I'm a false prophet because I read the Apocrypha? Have you ever read the Apocrypha? Like, what about the Apocrypha sounds like anything different than what you will already find in Scripture? I dare you to read the book of 2nd Esdras and tell me something. Do that sound anything different than stuff the prophets already said? Or are they contradicting anything already written in Scripture? Some people never even took the time to investigate the very things they accuse you of. And now you want me to live up or down to that? No, I'm not doing that. Sometimes you just got to be able to put up with stuff. Every season is different. Some seasons you're going to have everybody hating you. Some seasons you just going to lose everything. Some seasons you ain't going to have nowhere to live. Some seasons you ain't going to have no transportation. Some seasons you might end up breaking up with your wife or husband for a time. It really just depends on what God needs to do to work on you. That's it. Heck, sometimes you just need to be by yourself for a minute so that way God can position you for what it is he wants you to do next season. It ain't always spiritual warfare. It ain't always the devil. It's not always chastisement because you did something wrong. After all, these are biblical principles I'm talking about here. Pruning seasons, being tried in the fire. That's stuff that's designed for righteous people. That's stuff that's designed for the children of God. God make no promise to us that everything is going to work smooth in the lives of a believer. In fact, it sounds opposite than that. You are going to have tribulation. Paul said in the book of Acts, only through great hardship must we enter the kingdom of God. Only through great hardship must we enter the kingdom of God. That sounds so much different than stuff that Brian Carn and Mike Todd and them teach. Through great hardship shall we enter the kingdom of God. That sounds so much different than everybody you hear preaching on TV right now. And that's the Bible. I'm telling you stuff that the Bible already talk about. You will have tribulation in this world. And if you lose anything for the gospel, the Bible says that you're going to be rewarded tenfold, some 20-fold, or whatever it talk about. And it's going to come with persecutions. Even when God restore you, that restoration is coming with persecutions. That's what Jesus said. It was when Peter was like, lo, we have left everything to follow you. And Jesus was like, well, there's not a man who has not left lands and wives and this or that who would not be restored in this life and in the life to come, and with persecutions. I know I said that so backwards, but y'all got to read it yourself. Heck, I might not memorize scriptures word for word, but I do know what they're talking about. I do know what it's saying. Right? With persecution. Even people that memorize scriptures might still miss it. Like, it look like they still missed the point. But when God restore what you lost for the kingdom's sake, even if he's the reason you lost it, it's coming with persecutions. Heck, you had to lose your job all over a pruning season. You lost your business. Oh, yep, he'll make sure that you get restored, but it's coming with persecutions. I ain't gonna say everything come with persecutions, but something is. Especially in the lives of believers, something coming with persecutions. Like, don't sit here and sit back and think that everything gonna be smooth just because you a king's kid. That's crazy. Heck, the devil was a king too. Heck, there are demons that are kings. And like, you could be one of their kids for all I know. Man, but y'all know what I'm saying, bro. Stop trying to play me like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. My Jesus is different than yours then. Oh, well, you know, like, that's just the other Jesus, the other gospel and the other spirit that Paul talked about. Like, you know, in the New Testament, there is a thing called another Jesus, another gospel, and another spirit. So yeah, like, you're right when you say my Jesus and your Jesus. Heck, it's kind of funny you made a distinction. And now that I think about it, it's always somebody coming at me with that my Jesus wouldn't do that stuff. Well, I'm guessing your Jesus ain't the one written about in the Bible, because what I'm talking about come right out the Bible. Well, my Jesus wouldn't have us go through tribulation. Yeah, because your Jesus ain't the one in the Bible. That must be the Muslim Jesus, the one who was nothing more than a prophet, right? But other than that, y'all, my phone on 5%. I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go. I pray that somebody got something from this. Please like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content coming from me. And I thank all of y'all for listening. And I thank everybody for their comments and their words of encouragement. And y'all keep pressing on. And have a blessed day.